Hello, everyone. Nice to have your company. Thank you for coming. Thank you for zooming in, which is a big coming. It's much harder to find the Zoom link than the room. I always need someone else to send me the Zoom link, and I don't know how to do it. So good on you. You finding. Thank you. Today is the first day of lunar calendar, so it's according to Tibetan Buddhist calendar. Today is New Year, Losar, and of course our class continues disregarding when the Losar is, because I want to stop Dharma activities. It's even more auspicious to do Dharma on New Year's Day, because it's a Tibetan lunar calendar actually correspond to the marking of the Buddha's first showing the miracles, for 15 days at the repeated request of the Indian kings. And so in all Tibet, when they were people in Tibet, they used to observe the 10-day Monlam festival during these first 2 weeks of the first lunar month, because all the merit is much more abundant, more meritorious, multiply 100,000 times. So therefore, Tibetan New Year is actually totally Buddhist in way of commemorating Buddha's turning the wheel of Dharma in general, particularly showing miracles at the repeated request of the kings of India, who said that he should show miracles because many devotees are going away to who shows miracles rather than give teachings. And Buddha said, no, I don't show miracles to people. I make people to know the Dharma. That's a miracle. That's much more miraculous when they really know the Dharma, of course. But then the king said, but yeah, majority people are too dull to know the Dharma. They really want spectacles. They want to witness the spectacle and then follow it with belief in that. So Buddha sort of gave in at the request of these kings and showed miracles for 15 days, one for each day, for each of the 15 Indian kings. So for us to listen to the Dharma and think and reflect and then change things in our mind and life and perspective is a miracle, it's not a spectacle, it's a spectacular change in your life once you know the Dharma very well. Then the one who knows Dharma is a few, one who looks at for spectacles are many. So good that we are able to do this. Thank you very much. We're going to do the regular prayers, refuge. It's important to renew our refuge even more adequately and I would say validly, how much more we appreciate the Buddha, the Dharma, and the living Sangha. And the livingness of the Sangha is only possible because of the Dharma. That is such a food, worthy food to live on. Many people live on, but they live on very hollow. But once you meet the Dharma, of course, then you are able to see many things in an enlightening way. You change your thoughts, change your opinions, and change how you use your mouth. It's amazing. If you don't understand Dharma, people don't know how their own way is the problem or problem solver. Once they know the Dharma, Dharma empowers the person to change their own behavior. Without someone else telling us to do, the Dharma sort of whispered in our ears, oh, you got to do this, you got to do this. Thank you, Dharma. Thank you, Dharma. So it's not someone telling us, but we ourselves realize Dharma. Highest Dharma is realization Dharma, When you take refuge, take refuge in Dharma means realization Dharma. Why you listen, why you read, why you study, so that we realize, So that's why we keep renewing our refuge. We wanted to top up our realizations, don't we? We thought we understood impermanent. We thought we understood bodhicitta. We thought we understood the right view. But we can always improve and top up, replenish our realization. That's why we do the refuge again and again, and it's very precious to have refuge. And tirelessly doing the refuge with such delight and amazing. And our friendship is largely lays by our all small realization how true and the medicine the Dharma is. And thus our companionship, our Sangha. And all this Sangha and Dharma came from the Enlightened One. Without the Enlightened One, no one could articulate the truth of the Dharma. So, amazing reason to rejoicingly do the refuge and make itself a meditation. So with this in mind, we're going to do the refuge and generation of the bodhicitta, which is amazing realization that the gist of the Dharma is to have altruistic mind, kind mind, compassionate thoughts to those who lack the Dharma. No matter what they do wrong, it is just because they lack Dharma, they are not aware what they are doing, even to themselves, let alone others. With this, you generate the altruistic mind, and you wouldn't believe next time it is not what other people do to him or her or you, but what you do instead. You do have bodhicitta motivation, you have compassion, you have realization of Dharma, and then all the problems that they do are very causes for you to grow and experience growth when you have realization of Dharma. When you don't have realization of Dharma, we react, we bolt, we act irrationally, we think something's wrong and we want to be righted, and we lose the refuge. We completely forget. But when we remember the refuge, we remember bodhicitta, we remember loving kindness, and then we remember how to mind our mind, not losing it to the opposite. So these reminders are good to chant as a prayer, as a meditation, as part of the whole thing. The teaching session itself, it takes the form of the class, but actually it is to augment the refuge and bodhicitta. Try to boost how much is our refuge. Refuge needs to be, sometimes the tire is a little flat, don't you think? The tire is a little flat, you need to put a little air. Yes, Yeah, so the teaching is just filling the air. But it's in your own tire. Your tire is a little low in the refuge with bodhicitta. It's amazing to stuff refuge and bodhicitta. Not some preliminary practices. They are the practices. That's what Atisha said in Tibet, He doesn't want to teach anything but refuge. Because there was adequate. Good practitioners realize how back to the basics are important. And so, with these thoughts, today on Losar Day, I like to rejoicingly share these ideas about how to revamp our refuge and bodhicitta, a renewed bodhicitta, refuge, and commitment to practice compassion to everyone, joy, difficult situation, practice equanimity, and always loving kind and compassion. So with this in mind, we do the prayers, everyone. Thank you. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Aitere Pyete La Dhamma Bhavachu Aye Handala Ajare Vadavadu Enda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Aitere Pyete La Dhamma Bhavachu Aye Handala Ajare Vadavadu Enda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Aitere Pyete La Dhamma Bhavachu Aye Handala Ajare Vadavadu. May all beings have happiness, the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know about happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those near and far. God intelligence and predisposition of it. The Udanavarga and Dhamamapada goals. Our topic of the teaching is the mind and the mental factors, because it talks about mind. The other Abhidharma talks about matter, not so much of consciousness. So this subject of 51 mental factors, of which we discussed the first 10 last week, which is the 5, what we call the 5 omnipresent mental faculties, as well as 5 object-determining mental factors. These 10 goes hand in hand with every mental factor, be that root defilements, secondary defilements, or positive emotions. So tonight we're going to look at the what we call 6 root afflictions. 6 root afflictions are mental factors that are afflicted, and afflictedness of the mental factors is not usually consciously seen by the afflicted mind. So to witness the afflicted mind, you have to firstly know what is afflicted mind. Almost people have to be introduced to say this is a bell. They've never seen a bell before. As even though they've seen a bell, they've never been introduced. They're afflicted, but they don't know what's really afflicted. So afflicted emotions, what they call root kleshas, 6 root kleshas. Klesha means afflicted, and but the nature of the mind become beclouded, obscured, and it is not aware it is obscured. it is not aware that it is unconscious. And as a result of that, it enslaves your bodily behavior, your verbal behavior, and much so of your awareness, your own mind. So basically, a person is unconscious that he is afflicted when he is afflicted. And it is under the sway, under the influence of alcohol, the person's driving is not safe. Like under the influence of the affliction, person's mind is not safe, so is his body, so is his speech. So that's why we have to look at the afflicted, 6 root afflictions is how does the affliction benumb, seize, and arrest the mind. Mind get arrested. And these are called 6 root afflictions because it is the root from which all the 22 secondary as well as many multitude of afflictions stems and branches from. If you knew the definition of 6 root afflictions one by one and how connected they are to each other, in what way, what's the relationship with the other affliction, then you will also become much more cognizant and consciousness of the secondary afflictions. Because root and secondaries are 2 big differences. So tonight we will look at the 6 root afflictions. First of the 6 root affliction is desirous attachment. I call it desirous attachment because the Tibetan word saying de chak. De means desire, chak means attachment. So it's not desire, just desire by itself. Desire has a kind of initial function of desiring something. When you haven't got it, you desire, you want, you try to get it. And then a subsequent of that desiring is if you're successful to get what you want, even though it's undesirable. One desired undesirable as desirable. That's what affliction is. It's afflicted to not know that it's undesirable. Not only it doesn't know that it's undesirable, that it is desired and got it, but it is even attached to it on top of that. So the chak, therefore, the definition of the desire attachment is one is a desiring a contaminated object as if it's perfect, So one is actually like one is seeing alcohol as beautiful drink, One thinks it's beautiful drink because one thinks the taste is great, but one doesn't know how harmful it is to the behavior, to the rest of the body. And he's not only desiring alcohol, he cannot get off the alcohol. He's too attached to that. And so his mind is addicted to what he desired and what he got. He doesn't know it's contaminated. It looks even more desirable. The more he have it, more desirable it becomes. He's trapped. He's seized. He's caught off-handed. The mind is caught off-handed, unable to see. And as a result of that, the afflicted mind, this is talking of afflicted mind with desirous attachment, it is usually addicted to objects. And it sees things, it lacks what it lacks in it, but it actually exaggerates what it actually doesn't have. So, for instance, when one is desire some person or some position, whatever it is, here the author gives, if one is attached, desiring a person, firstly, like say you want to have a child, and you will have a child. First desire. You succeed not to get a child, but once you get a child, you become so attached to it, you dare not to part. You want everything right to happen with the child, and you can barely part from them. And the child, the thing that you got, become now cause of your misery, sleeplessness, everything. Not because you don't have a child, because you're attached to them. Many people have a child, but they don't suffer nearly as much as one is attached to it. You would not believe, how much attachment to the person by the mother or by the brother or whoever is, and they are so contaminated, they're so deluded in thinking that they can control and expect whatever they want from the child. No, child has now become cause of their misery, but they thought it was going to be cause of their happiness. It is. I'm not suggesting that your child is, by the way. just giving as an example. But just in case yours is, I can tell with some degree of experience here. As a parent, not that my children are gone off the track or something like that, but when one desires something from your children, the more you desire, the less satisfactory they becomes. And you almost wanted to control them every movement. You wanted them the way they go. Where did you go? Who are you going? What are you doing that for? So possessive, so possessive. So one is become very, very afflicted, very, very contaminated, and then as a result of that attachment to your child or to your mother or whoever you love or be attached to, then all kinds of other affliction mushrooms from that. Then you become jealous. Then you become possessive. You become angry. It's not because people want to be angry, but they are angry because they're attached to something. They desire that thing. So that's why it's called root affliction of desirous attachment. Is the root of your anger, root of your frustration, root of your impatience, and as a result of that, every other affliction mushrooms from that. So root affliction, rootness of the desirous affliction, desirous attachment. And as a result of that, the person isn't aware that his mind is consumed by the desire and attachment. He doesn't know his mind. He thinks all to do with the object. He doesn't know his mind is doing it. Afflicted mind is not consciously recognized by afflicted mind because he is desiring something. He's attached to it. He thinks it's all about the object, nothing to do with what they're thinking. So they've so lost their mind. Their mind is completely lost to that, but they actually don't know that. As a result of that, person who is afflicted suffers. What is that? Why it's called root affliction? Affliction brings actions, behaviors, and that will be negative, and harmful, and destructive to one and others, present and the future. Because once root affliction is in the mind, then whatever one is seeking to gain from the object, that object become tainted. Tainted, this when we say affliction means it taints your mind, and then it makes the object more desirable than actually it is. You don't want to part, even though you have to part. So firstly, when you're not with it, you suffer when you're not with it. Secondly, when you're with it, you're not enjoying anything with it, you don't want to lose it. And thirdly, when you lose it, you suffer even more. So there is no time, neither at the beginning of obtaining, nor in the peak of possession, nor at the end when you lose it. So it's all full of pain and suffering, right from beginning, in the middle, and the end. There is hardly any enticement to benefit from it. Yet the person is completely downtrodden by desirous attachment. He's not aware of any of that. He still thinks it's because he didn't get this, he hasn't got this. He still thinks that the object's fault. He always projects the faults of the objects for not doing what you wanted them to do, and you become controlling. Then you become aggressive, and you do the very things you are not aware of what you're doing. You think it's all to do with the object. Because of that, this is what... Then one becomes aggressive to the very thing they love. They love the object, but they're aggressive to the very thing they love too. Without knowing the object actually doesn't like the aggression. He's not aware he's aggressive. He's not aware when he's aggressive, he's aggressive. He becomes doubly now deluded. On top of the desire, now he's got anger and jealousy. And if he did something right well with the object of desire, then he get bloated with ego. So all the other afflictions also mushrooms from the desirous attachment. For instance, if you have someone that you really have desire to have, and you got like a child, which we were talking about, even though they're healthy, you wish they will not get sick. Even though they're healthy, you don't enjoy their healthiness. Wish they won't get sick. Wish they did not go there. Wish they did not do this. Even though they're not doing any of that, that's just all the worries, all the anxiety, and fear of your child being influenced by him, influenced by that, not learning that properly, should not learn this. Instead, you become such a control freak. You become completely besotted. You become completely maddened by what you want the object to become. You become completely possessed and obsessed with that. And even when the child goes to school or somewhere, you're always worrying, is he okay? Is he going with the right kind of friend? Always worrying how he can, become so basically obsessive compulsive disorder. Person becomes so mainly desire. Desire causes all of this. Instead of pacifying one's own subjective desire, one is now mentally injured. One is worrying. One is worrying about that person, and one is harboring doubts, fear, and suspicion, and all the rest. So this desire is, for instance, as an example to a child or a person in your life. But yeah, same you can now to the desirous attachment with things, what you own, what you possess, what you do, how you want to do things done, how you don't want things to be done. You always dictated by your desire and your attachment to it. If you attach to one way of you doing, you can't be happy with people doing differently. You can't see the good in that way of doing it. You say, why you have to do that way? Why can't he? He's got his own mind. But we know, we like our way of doing it. So because of that, there's amazing possessiveness as the only way. This is the only way to do, because one is so attached to the way one does this way, and one doesn't see any alternative, because there's one box one made and one sees everything in that. One couldn't see any different way of doing it, and one becomes so stuck in that way. Why? It's a desirous attachment. Particularly if one has some competence, in confidence, in experience doing something, one thing that's the only way to do it. And that's what makes it what you call desire attachment so benumbing, and the person doesn't see any alternative. The person doesn't see any alternative way of doing it. Because of that, the mind is not able, it's angry that it can't be done my way. Couldn't see how other way of doing is perfectly fine. Because someone is so attached. And one is so attached and addicted to that way, one couldn't see any other way of doing it. So when we now talk about root of attachment, root of desire attachment, it could be rooted with what you desire visually, what you desire auditorily, what you desire olfactorily or gustatorily or tactilely. You say, I want this. I want to do this. Whether it's something visually, something auditorily, something whatever it is, you become so attached. Oh, some people say attached to the kind of peanut butter and jam together. and other people are doing some other things together. And when they don't have these combinations, they are really crook. Oh gosh, I have to go without this. So they become so, attachment, desirous attachment to taste, desirous attachment to, it's sometimes good to offer someone bland food, Ask them for a very delicious dinner, a very special dinner, but offer them the opposite to their liking. see whether they happily eat or whatever. You can see how attached we are to our taste, how attached we are, how hot we want, how hot we do not want. Some person it's hot, but this is not hot enough. They're so attached to the temperature, particularly for people who are born in cold places. They really want hot, boiling hot, and not lukewarm. They're attached to the texture of the soup, This morning I had this traditional Tibetan thing, kind of. It's a fermented, home-cooked rice chung, but you have to boil it. If you boil it, then it no longer has the alcohol, yeah? But I was saying, this is not hot enough. I was saying in my mind, because we drink in cold places, always very hot, but in hot in Canberra in summer, you don't want to have a boiling hot chung, do you? But I want it that way. So I was saying, this is not hot enough.
Alcoholic.
Huh?
The alcohol is still there.
No, alcohol is not there because it's boiled, but actual temperature. I'm talking about attachment here. Some people's hot is not other people's hot, To some, it's still warm or something. So in this way, you can look at subjectively the rootness of your affliction of desirous attachment. How many of your anger, frustration, inability to do that other way, then it's all to do with the root of your desirous attachment. So we need to look at that. Because we live in a desire realm, remember? A desire realm. So we all have desire. It's just question is what aspect of desire are you restraining? What aspect of desire you are not restraining whatsoever? Some are socially required to restrain, others are not socially required to restrain. You're still relishing and indulging in the desirous attachment. Others you could not indulge in them because socially it's inappropriate. Time, place, situation doesn't allow it to be indulgent. So it's good to know when we say what is desirous attachment. A lot of our disappointment with someone or something on issue is because we want our way. That's it. We couldn't see any alternative way of doing it. And that's the root of your frustration, your impatience, your inability to work with a different way than that is because of desirous attachment. And you just can't be happy by anything. You've got to be happy just the way you want it. And but it's contaminated by thinking it is. There's all kinds of ways that can be done, but he doesn't see anything but within that box. So that's the root first of the 6 root affliction, desirous attachment. Second root affliction is hatred. The hate, you can call it hate. Because hate is it's self-tormentor. The definition of hate is self-tormentor, and the tormentor is the mind. Tormented is the mind. Is the tormentor is the hateful mind, and tormented is the primary mind. But you lose the primary mind to the tormented affliction, and then it's self-tormenting is caused by its rage to an object. It thinks its problem is the object, but it is self-inflicted torment. It thinks the object is the cause, but actually what it is doing is tormenting it, but it's not aware of that. It thinks it's the object. It always has some what they call barking at the wrong tree. The person who's self-tormenting themselves with anger always have an object to lay blame to. Not that it's accurate, that because they don't know they are self-tormenting themselves, they are mistakenly identifying an external object by which they have made angry. Without realizing, anger is made in the mind which has the anger. Anger is made in the mind which has the anger. And the object has contributed something, instigated something, that's for sure. So one is impatient, one is tormented by the object, but one is now directing one's rage to the object, the very torment that one has caused, and then one now sees the external object with hostility. He's not aware of his anger. He thinks he's more aware of the thing the object did wrong. So because of that, his animosity towards the object is so strong that he's not aware of self-tormenting. And they don't remember the object is your father or someone who's been most kindest person, most important person, most special person in your life. They just completely lose the track. They even forget who the hell is this person. They have a completely different projection, and that the person is blank. The appearance is completely, truly existing out there. So, is this not self-torment? Not only is self-tormenting, he's projecting everything out there without knowing they are projecting. Because that person now thinks his self-made suffering is caused by the object. Object caused suffering. He thinks his object caused suffering. He justifies himself to raise his voice, engage in action, maybe aggressively, and thought very with ill will and resentment, anger. As a result of that, one's mind stream is completely invaded by this rage. And the person doesn't even know they are suffering due to their own mental emotion, destructive emotion, which they are hosting. And yet they have this amazing feeling as if they express their rage as the problem will all be solved. They don't see it is escalating the problem. They see that what the problem will be solved, but it's total illusion. It's actually escalating the problem by minute. But he thinks there's a lot of victory to be gained by using his action of aggression, and whether physically or verbally or whatever that it is. So, is he not afflicted? Yes, he is. But does he know? He doesn't. So this is the mental function, what we call high Abhidharma. High Abhidharma is supreme science of knowing your mind is afflicted. It's like saying your water is polluted. Saying that so the reservoir is poisoned. As soon as, of course, they will say that the reservoir is poisoned, everybody will stop turning the tap on. So, if people knew that their mind has been poisoned, they will start not using that mind. But how often do we get warned and do we get heated? Do we get heat to that anger? We don't. That's why the people lose their mind to that rage, and then they see truly existing object of hate, and it's like a dog that beats you, Dog that bites you and you're bleeding, You can see it's the dog that beat me. One doesn't know the dog was just as afraid of you. And then beat you, not because it wanted to beat you. Dog was just as well frightened by your behavior or whatever. One doesn't know that. Poor dog doesn't have any intention to bite anybody, But there's one feels so rage with a dog that beat you, or if a bed bug has been biting your under your, maybe somewhere inside your body, it's been biting you. All of a sudden, you found the bed bug and all the big kind of lump that is biting you. All of a sudden, Then one thinks your injury or the bite that you're suffering is caused by the bed bug. It's very few says this is my anger, that's the problem, not the bad bug. Real bad bug is my bad bug in me. The anger is a real bad bug. But most people don't complain about the anger bad bug. We are beaten by anger more often than bed bugs. We're beaten more by our anger than mosquitoes. But yet, we have hardly ever complained to ourselves, making ourselves being tormented by our own anger, by our own frustration. We do not do that. Instead of acknowledging our anger, we are reacting and overreacting to the bed bug to the extent of killing the bed bug. Bed bug has just a little bite on us, which we have a couple of square meters of the body, but we destroy the whole bed bug. Look at the justification. The bed bug also has the right to live, but we don't think killing a bed bug is anything wrong with that. But so that shows the overreaction with our anger. Person doesn't realize how quickly he gets afflicted and tormented and poisoned. And so here it says that anger has nine objects. 9 objects. It's 9 are to do with past, 3 from the past, 3 from present, 3 from future. The past is past is something like, say, what you think someone did to you. Yeah? So that's anger. Oh, he did that to me. In the past. So people are angry. And then present one is, he's the one who's doing this to me now at present, so you're angry at the moment. And then, because based on unresolution of the past and present anger to the object, then one has every sort of reason to fear that he will do the same in the future. So that's to do with the self. So anger, objects of anger are past object, present object, and future. And the other second group anger is angry that someone did something harmful to you, someone you love in the past. Yeah, say maybe your brother was harmed by your sister-in-law to the extent they split and whatever. So he's still angry at the sister-in-law from whatever happened in the past, because it's to do with your son or your daughter or whatever it is. So what someone did to someone you love makes you angry, even though it's in the past. There's nothing that they did to you, but someone you love, what they did to harm to them. And then presently still thinking, what's that this person is doing to my son? Still continuing. That was past, but it hasn't stopped. Still thinking that you're angry that what they may do again, what they may be doing at the present. So they're still angry. And the future, what they may do on top of what they did in the past to my son, because your son is your little son. You want him to be best, you want him to be progress, you be healthy and happy and harmonious, progressive, stress-free. Yet, so what someone did to him in the past is now become a constant object of anger. Can you relate to that, yeah? Isn't it? Usually it's very interesting. These 9 objects of anger is very, very scientific. We are so afflicted it's not that they did do anything to us. Even if they didn't do anything else to us, it's because our anger that harms us more than what they did. We're not aware of that. And then if somebody that we love, we think he is harmed by such and such, we are justifying anger to that person. Even though that was way in the past, we still have this anger feeling towards the object. We are still rooted in that rage. And we're keeping that anger alive. We're self-tormenting. The person isn't doing anything present, but still one thinks they are. One is assuming they are doing something harmful. And one has even reason to fear that they will do more in the future. So basically there is this constant anger in us, unless you switch off the mind. Sometimes you don't think about it, it doesn't feature in your mind. So that's why meditation is good, because it will distract you and you focus on that. Otherwise, people are always hosting and posting the anger on the right to the forefront of the mind. Why? Because they love their son or mother or friend or so much that they could not desire him to be well and happy and unharmed, yet because of that, one's desire and attachment to that therefore becomes the root of anger. So the anger is rooted in the desire to particularly that person, and then also in the future. So it's not just one person might harm your son, maybe 3 others. He might have half a dozen of the cause of them. So the more objects of fear and suspicion that he has, that much more becomes your worries or your object of anger. So that's what those are 3 objects of anger of someone you love. And the past, present, future. The third three is someone you don't like, but someone loves them. And then you are angry at them. You're angry that they like him. They're actually doing liking, they're friending, they're befriending, and they're doing good things to each other. But because we hate them, our hated object, which is loved by others, now makes us angry. Makes us angry. And then we are also remaining angry, and we continue to believe that even in the future. We still think that he will be helped by him. Oh, he's going to be helped by him. Whoever you hate to, anybody who does good things with him, for him, he gets something successful, your anger rages. You don't want him to succeed. You don't want to be happy. You don't want to be successful now. You don't want to be successful in the future. You don't give right. You don't endorse his being successful in the past because you hate them. So these are the 9 objects of anger. When we become cognizant of our anger, you usually would see, is it to do with myself? Or is it to do with someone we love? Is it to do with someone we hate? So someone we hate, we already are angry, but what other people do good things with him becomes the additional objects of hatred. No wonder why anger is such a misunderstood emotion, because people think, people firstly do not know the anger, secondly they don't know they need to pacify it. They think they got 110 reasons to stay angry. Very few people will change their mind to stop being angry unless they have heard Dharma, which is very dangerous. Wait until hearing Dharma is very dangerous. It might destroy your anger. Dharma is peaceful. It pacifies your anger. If you heard the Dharma, it might pacify your anger. So you might hasn't got a lot of job to do, just to breathe and do meditation. Then you'll be free from negative emotions, because then you will have a lot of freedom to practice Dharma, because you're not indulging in brooding yourself in anger. You wouldn't believe how many people become alcoholics and resorting to alcohol and drug. Why? Because the anger just could not control the emotions, and they are really about to harm themselves, and only to mask their anger, mask the addiction to anger. They try to take and drink, eat too much, either eat too much or drink the wrong stuff. So people are so afflicted. They're already afflicted by affliction. They want to drink on top of that. So this is called contaminated. Root afflictions are afflicted by afflicted by affliction. It's because of root affliction on top of affliction. If there's a desire attachment, it will naturally give rise to anger. Yeah, we want our son to be happy, is it? So it's just an example. We want our son or friend to be happy. Now someone is harming him, that becomes cause of our anger. You know? So we are attached to someone's happiness, and anything goes wrong with him, we cannot be pleasant to. We are angry, whatever appears that is cause of his suffering, and we are fearful of him and the thereafter, and so we have no time to free ourselves from that anguish. We are seized, as we were saying. We are completely arrested. You know, people say cardiac arrest. Why people have cardiac arrest? They have this much brooding of anger, almost until the blood, is like a seething anger. They go seething anger. Seething means just boiling. People get really high temperature. The blood can go clotted. Yeah, no wonder why the people's face turn red when they're angry. They don't know how to control the emotions. So, mind and its mental factors. This is afflicted mental factor we're talking about. Afflicted root mental factor. In a root affliction. Afflicted root mental factor. A root mental factor that is afflicted from the root. Then, what it does is the anger does is the anger self-torments the person. It gives them, suppress them with sorrow, and yet under the sorrowful behavior, he wanted to say harsh words to destroy someone's feeling. He wanted to hurl stones at someone, and his suffering is not enough. He's going to do more harm, just like the warring parties in like countries they're fighting. They're angry, they're thumping on the chair and the table, yelling at the generals, and then he wants the generals to go and throw missiles on the other. And he thinks he will be happy by doing that. Of course, so deluded. What he's ordering is to shoot at innocent people's houses. And all what he's done last whole year is death and destruction, not only of the enemy, but his own 200,000 or more soldiers. He can't see what he's doing. This is the tragedy we're talking about. It's the angry leaders of the world who could not listen and heed to anyone, who hasn't got a sane advisor, by the way. They have the board meetings, everybody's meeting. Nobody giving any sane advice. They're all talking about how to use anger on top of another anger. Tormented. Every single order, every single decision is mutually destructive. And all this war, on a personal level, on an interaction, all are waged under the sway of influence of anger. Really. We're talking about cause of the problem here. That is a mental factor. Why unguarded mind can go human beings to do such destructive things. And it only brings the very suffering he doesn't want. He brings more suffering, more bodies, more body bags, And that's all there is. That's what he's ordering them to kill. He's get killed more times. From either side, whether a small level or not. Whatever, every time he's sowing the seed of chili. He wanted to sow the seed of sugar cane, but he's never finding sugar cane. He sows it as it was a sugar cane, but every time it grows a chili, he doesn't know the seed. He doesn't know what he's sowing the seed of chili. He wants the harvest to be sweet, but every harvest is bitter, burning, hot. Now, on an interpersonal level, it's like that. If you're angry someone, if you've been angry about someone or something, it's all to do with self-tormented. But yet the person doesn't think and know he's self-tormented. He thinks it's he's doing that made me to do this. And they're really, really convinced that that is true. And they even try to get some other people help to prove that is true. One deluded person is not bad enough. You need another person to help to think that it's all fault of others. Poor you thing. No wonder why you are suffering. Oh, you suffer under their influence. And that's why we need to meditate on anger and then spot the anger. And is it to do with him doing to me, or it's he doing to them who we love, or they're doing to her who we hate? It's to do with that, And the past, present, and future. That's what the 9 objects of anger. So the more you become conversant with the root affliction of anger, the more you become unpacking the causes of the anger. So the anger is not truly existing. This is the most important. Anger is a hodgepodge misunderstanding. It's complete misunderstanding. Poor thing. And very few have the very few are literate enough to know the destructive and harm and self-tormenting anger is. So it's very important if you're angry at someone, let's say we are angry. Well, let's say we are angry at someone. Usually we are angry at someone thinking what he did to us, for us to not get what we want or lose what we have or interfere what we were about to get or whatever it is. But when people say, why are you angry at him? Oh, he did this to me because I didn't get that job. He recommended him, I didn't get a job, so I'm angry at him. So the person usually is, so one can clearly see why the anger is caused by desire and attachment. Anger is not caused by anger by itself. It has desire and attachment, cause of anger. That's the root. One is root from where it is stemming from. So that will do. Now the third root affliction is pride. The Tibetan word for pride is nga yel. Nga means I genius. I victorious. I am genius. I'm special. It is a sense of emotionally very bloated and full of me. It is a sense of full of me, whether it's thing you have, or skills you have, or knowledge you have, or how many long times you did. And the person says, I did this for 30 years. 30 years become cause of bloating them. I'm the number 1 brain surgeon in Australia. this kind of bloating yourself, the description of these amazing things that you did, how long, and why you're the only, or whatever it is, So there's amazing self-bloating here. You have a sense of feeling filled up with a sense of how great I am, and whether it's your wealth, how you do things, your knowledge, your skill, and this amazing sense of self-importance that everybody should know, You're just surprised that nobody knew that. Yes, you don't know who I am, type of feeling. Almost that your goodness should be so well known that everybody should love you and everybody should know you how important you are. Some people work in some organizations for many, many years. I'm talking about some big, and then they're now slowly sort of retiring. There's occasion show up. You don't know who I am. I've been here doing this for 50 years. You just came for now last month. It's almost one has this look overlooking what other people do, and one just doesn't see anything. But one is bloated with ego and so much of self-importance. This author gives an example. It's just like pouring hot water in a flask, and the flask explodes. It's like that, It destroys the flask because it's more than full. The flask is over full. So like that. So the person is so full of themselves, they don't even have the ability to say, I learned from him. I learned from them. They think they're all self-taught type of thing. They don't have due to his graciousness I learned this. I don't know much in comparison to him. They don't say that. They hardly say give credit to others from whom they learn because they think they're self-made, So the pride is what they call quality of root affliction. Quality means person feel nothing wrong with it. They feel good and high and important. So much so they don't see the quality of others. How do you know you are prideful? When you do not see anything good that other people do. You don't see the goodness of other people. So that's the root reflection of pride, is you could not see what other people do. And as a result of there's no sense of humility, and whether it's a thing that you own, things that you did, or things you will do, and it got to be extraordinary because it's you. And this sense of self-importance is a mental factor, isn't it? Pride is a negative, afflictive mental factor. So when you have the afflictive, any of these desires, attachment, anger, and pride issue, they have all the 10 mental factors we discussed last week. 5 omnipresent mental factors, as well as 5 object determining mental factors. So that these 10 mental factors are always concurrently goes with the afflictive or wholesome mental factors. So it's a kind of a conscious awareness of the psychology of one's own mind but afflictive and root afflictiveness of pride is usually you do not see you're doing it. So that's why we need to know it as if we are studying a mental factor out there. When we actually have it, it's very difficult to know, because we don't know the symptoms of what it's like to be afflicted by a root affliction of pride. So when having heard this, then almost like we are studying something, an object, and next time we see the object we identify, isn't it? Likewise, because we talk about the root affliction of pride, and then next time you say, you feel so self-important, so great, so special. And as soon as you start feeling this filled up feeling of self-importance, that this I'm better than him, I have no comparison to him, and seeing no good of others, overlooking other people, so you just overlook at other people. You don't see any other people's quality. You don't see other people's quality at all, those who are as equal as you become very competitive. You're not respectful of other people. You think they are not good enough as you are. With your own quality, you think far more superior than anybody else. You are very, very condescending to others who you think has no quality like that of yours. So dismissing them as if is not worthy of that. So these are very symptoms or sign of having the root affliction of pride taking over our mind. Now the fourth is the root affliction is ignorance. The ignorance is that one has a complete lack of understanding on the nature of the mind that is ignorant. And it is usually the ignorant mind that also does the desirous attachment. It's the ignorant mind that makes the anger angry, and pride, and so on. So the root affliction of desire is therefore rooted in the ignorance. And it lacks no understanding of the nature of the phenomena, object as it is. It actually sees what it appears as real. It doesn't see what actually is at all. It is ignorant of what actually is. It thinks what it appears is what it is. So appearance and reality are contrast. So one doesn't know that its appearance is projected by his own ignorance, because he's not aware of the difference between contrast between the appearance and reality. Because ignorance means not knowing what it is, and not realizing that you don't know. And it's like a blind. The blind cannot see, but it is not aware that it cannot see. It thinks the thing doesn't exist. He doesn't know his ignorance, his blindness is making him unable to see. He thinks the lack of existence of the object. So therefore the word avidya in Sanskrit, or marikpa in Tibetan. Ma means not, rikpa means awareness, unawareness. So completely unaware. Like the darkness in which you do not see any murals or objects or things, you think everything's dark. Because visually in a dark room you couldn't see nothing, but if you turn on the light you see many things. But here we're not talking about visual ignorance. We're not talking about auditory ignorance of not being able to hear or not being able to see. We're not talking about smell, not being able to taste. We're talking about not being able to know. Mentally, not being able to know. So avidya means no knowing. No knowing whatsoever. Each of the six sense consciousness, the eye sense consciousness has the ability to know form, to see yellow, red, square, oblong, whatever. But ears cannot hear this oblongness of it or flatness of it. So the dominant organ of the visual organ is this seeing. You got to see, and so only eye organ is able to see the visual object, whether it's flat or round or tall or short. But tall or short or flat or roundness or smoothness cannot be understood from the eyes and ears. You have to feel. Whether it's smooth or rough, you have to touch. So therefore, each of the sense visual awareness or auditory awareness are ignorant only of their relevant range of object. I could be only ignorant of the form, but it could not be cognizant of anything else. because I can only see form, it cannot hear sound from the eye. I can only see, but ear can only hear, but ear cannot see as I can. So the sense organs themselves are very limited in what they could know or become aware of, because they have only limited range which they can see or listen, not vice versa. Whereas the mind, which is the primary consciousness, actually can see through the eyes, can hear through the ears, can smell through the nose. So when we're talking about ignorance, we're talking about ignorance of all 5 plus 6 sense organ or objects related to it. Person will eat a plant not knowing it's poison, for instance. When person eats the poison, then it's a poison. But if the person touches the poison and puts in a pocket, it doesn't poison him. But if the person takes the poison and eats it without knowing it's poison, then he will get sick. Likewise, the ignorance makes the mind to become unaware of many things. It thinks impermanent things as permanent. And then you are hurt, you're upset, not because you lost something, but because you thought you will never lose it. This is drastic, drastic problem. This is a severe problem. Loss is not the problem, but you didn't know it is impermanent. You will always lose it, So loss is not a cause of suffering. Ignorance that is impermanent is cause of suffering. People only think they lose something, they suffer. But one who is not ignorant, they don't even get delighted when they get something. They know it is not cause of real happiness by gaining it, because they know it is losable. It will soon lose. So when one moment you gain, you're happy. One moment you lose, you're unhappy. Is it? Yeah. Are you Are you at that kind of whim? Or do you know it is? Even you get it, but it is not a cause of great excitement, because it just soon will be lost. To know that is far more awareness. So we don't have that awareness, but with some of you may have. When you have, it's amazing. Then when you gain something, you don't get so excited, Even you lose something, you don't feel as, that's terrible, I lost this. You don't do this, because what is winning and what is losing? One who's aware that all things are not really anybody else's, let alone yours. So when you're aware that things are impermanent, you will never like things to be permanent, because they never are. So you don't suffer thinking it is permanent when they're not. So people are afraid, not because things will change, but they don't want things to change. It's exactly going against the tide, It will change, but one doesn't want it to change. Change is inevitable, and there's no excuse. No one can ransom it. No one can skip it. No one can have any kind of way to avoid it. It's this nature of things. So when we are ignorant of impermanent as impermanent, unsatisfactoriness of life as unsatisfactoriness, then we moan and groan when things are unsatisfactory. When you know the whole life is unsatisfactory, as long as you're seized by any of it, there's no moaning and groaning. That's the nature of existence. And you will not suffer because you have no ignorance. Not because things change, because you know they are unsatisfactory. Even when you have it, they are not satisfactory. And when you don't have it, of course, unsatisfactory, particularly if you're attached to them. You are not. The death of someone is not cause of suffering. unless you're attached to them. Some people suffer somebody's death because they're attached to them. Then they suffer loss. But if they're not attached to them, they have no suffering. So it's not the death is the cause of suffering. It's the attachment to it. It's anger to the cause of the death. And these things are. So this, when we say ignorance, is ignorance of impermanent things. Ignorance of no self as self. Grasping to things and the names and the gender and ethnicity as me, to possess, to protect, to guard. And one is ignorant that there is cause of suffering, that grasping is suffering. Grasping is cause of suffering. One is ignorantly doing that, and one is manufacturing the very suffering through his own ignorance. All suffering is caused by ignorance. Suffering is not caused by people. People or other things are just small conditions. They are small conditions. The real root cause of suffering is ignorance. That's called root affliction. Ignorance is root of suffering. The people or other things, the actions of them is just secondary. They're just secondary causes. They're just conditions of that. So when we talk about ignorance, we're not talking about ignorant cause and effect on a relative level. We're talking about ultimate reality as well, impermanent of impermanent things. It's not ultimately like that because, like say if you have a book or something, or a drink or something, and a bottle up, everything is got a duration. How long it is good, after that is not good. It's already written, and you don't need class on that. But looks like we need one class. That our suffering comes from grasping to impermanent things as permanent. Not because it changed, because we didn't want it to change. It's not that someone abandoned you that is cause of suffering. It's because you're attached to them, they are suffering. We think someone's abandoning us is cause of suffering. No, our attachment to them is. But wait until you really want them to go and they abandon you, feel so good. Oh, I'm so happy they're really leaving me because I really wish they did. So their departure is not a cause of suffering, is it? No. Why? Because you're not attached to them. So someone's leaving is not a cause of suffering. Our attachment to them is. And ignorant of that is even more so. So when we're talking about ignorance, we're talking about not being aware of the obvious causes of suffering as the cause of suffering, and misapprehending something else as a not cause of suffering, as cause of suffering, mistakenly and wrong person, wrong recognition, misrecognition. It's like going into someone's car, thinking it's your car, and trying to poke your key into their keyhole. These days, thankfully, you don't have to do that. You just press the button, your car will beep, beep, beep. It will be recognized a lot easier. So people who don't know where they park, also they can see where it is. These days, a lot easier. In the old days, people putting the key in the wrong car. There's a lot of that happening when we're ignorant. We mistakenly think what is not as what it is, what is as what isn't, how as not how, where it is as not where it is, when it is, not when it is. All this, and our action, we're ignorant of what we are saying or doing, will cause upset and suffering to others. We are not scrupulous enough to check before we say or do. So we're ignorant. We're ignorant that what we did in the past unconsciously caused us to have this particular problem in this life. We were ignorant in the past, and ignorantly we create the causes, and we ignorantly have stuck with the result. But we don't know that. Why? We're ignorant again. We were not only ignorant of when we were sowing the seed, we're also ignorant what we're harvesting. And then we blame others. We think our suffering is caused by him or them, and then we double up the ignorance. This incessant ignorance causes the mental formation. So this root affliction of avidya, means unawareness, is unawareness of your action, unawareness of your thought, that need to be scrutinized, restrained. Those thoughts that we should scrutinize, restrain, we are not scrutinizing and restraining. We are just going under the sway. We are ignorant of words or sentences or things we say should be restrained, but we instead of restraining, we just say it. They say getting out of the chest, they call it, as if they're going to come very happy, but no, they're ignorant. What they say is going to make the matter worse. See, this is the mental events, with mental factors. Mental factors, when we don't know the mental factors, it's a unrecognized mental factor of root of ignorance, sees and arrests us and makes us to drive the wrong direction, and then have the catastrophic accident, as an analogy, All kinds of mishaps, all kind of disappointment was due to ignorance of what one's action is consummated under which of the root afflictions. One could not see the root affliction, let alone action it is that are about to consummate, and let alone the purpose and objectives and manner or how that may be done differently. One is completely ignorant as any choice. There's no choice. There's one dark hole, one strong in sort of emotion that just push them. They don't have any way to pause it or to stop it or to scrutinize it. They didn't have anything at their disposal. Why? They're totally ignorant that there is an alternative called patience or compassion or mindfulness breathing or maybe I should check my facts before I act on this. He's totally ignorant, he's very negligent, and because of that, his mind is completely seized and arrested by the ignorance of the action, his unskillfulness, his ignorance, his unskillfulness, his ignorance of the timing, his ignorance of the to whom, how he want to react to, He might have a justifiable reason to say it, but not to him, not at that moment, not in that manner. So we're talking about ignorance of action, timing, manner, and objectives. Because of that, person is completely ignorant of law of causality. Lendela Momba means the person is completely ignorant of what he's doing that is a cause of action, the physical action, verbal action. He thought he was going to say this to get that, but he wouldn't get anywhere near that. He will instead end up with that consequence. He is ignorant of the seed that he's sowing. He doesn't see the interdependent origination of things because he's not completely unaware of interdependent. Because he thinks entirely my fault, entirely his fault. He's completely ignorant. Things are interdependently originated. Because he's not aware of the relative and ultimate truth, and he doesn't know the action that he has have a severe consequences in the future. His ability to do right now might make him be pushed by some devil, but he doesn't know what is the consequences of that devilish action that he himself consummated. He basically jumped into the cliff as if he's going to land on a nice cushion. He is not aware of his action. He's unaware of his action because the root affliction of ignorance seize and arrest the person. Fifth of the root affliction is doubt. Doubt is this meaning like a mind that is very indecisive. When you are, of course, doubt could be either way. You could be doubting for the factual doubt or non-factual doubt. But generally, doubt is not considered to be an invariable thought, mental factor. It is mostly a root affliction. That is one of the 5 impediments of the meditator. Is also doubt in the meditation. They're doubting. Should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? And then they were doing, but they just hesitated, and then, if say whether this book is permanent or impermanent, that's okay. That's a really good doubt. Have you seen any permanent books before? No, I haven't. So what's the doubt? There's no fact, no reason to doubt it is permanent. It's pretty obvious that is all things, all that has produced things impermanent. Do you have to test one particular book? All things that they produce are impermanent. All things that produce impermanent, people still think there's something that is permanent. So, the mind is double-edged, like a double-pointed needle cannot sew the cloth. Likewise, person who's doubting will have anxiety and would not go and focus and do the thing. In a yo-yoing, one moment is, another moment is, and just a lot of anxiety. And that's this kind of double kind of sided mind, this kind of indecisive, doubtful mind, then they doubting about the merit of compassion, tolerance, forgiveness, They know if someone were compassionate to them, they really love it. But when it comes to them doing compassion, they're doubting whether my compassion will be wasted. As if they have too much compassion, that go wasted. It may therefore hesitate you from doing good deeds. You've been doing good deeds for a while. You've been doing something you've been for so long. All of a sudden, doubt just stops you from doing. Particularly if you implant doubt in other people's mind, it's a terrible karma. One's own doubting is bad enough. You do not need to plant seed of doubt in somebody else. Yet people do it unashamedly, as if they know so well. If they can implant some doubt in some people's mind, it's very hard to inspire people, but very easy to implant doubt in people. Easily someone can poison you with doubt, but it's very difficult to inspire others very quickly. So that shows the afflictiveness and the poisonousness of doubt. Not only we will doubt about the Buddha, the Dharma, the law of karma, and so on, because the teaching says examine. As we have this amazing mind that we can examine everything and we can scrutinize and know everything. So doubt is the killer of faith. Later on you will look at the 11 positive wholesome factors in which faith is very important. Positive confidence. But if you have doubt, this 6 root affliction kills the possibility of engendering any of the 11 wholesome thoughts, wholesome mental factors. So that's why we need to look at the 6 root afflictions first. Whether the Buddha taught this or not, whether it's original teachings of the Buddha or not, how do we know it's Buddha's teaching? This kind of a smart mind, they think they have lots of doubts to entertain themselves, as if teaching says you have to master yourself, but it doesn't mean you should fill yourself with doubt and have no faith at all. Because why should doubt be listed as one of the root affliction? Because people don't know it is. They think it's a healthy thing to have the inquiring mind. Of course, inquiring mind has a very good thing, but inquiring mind without any end to it is definitely doubt filled with doubt. So that's why but say if you go to consult a doctor, and he checks it with you and he diagnoses something, and then you have the prescription, and you just doubt. Oh, it doesn't look good. Where he checked me. He didn't ask any question. He just wrote the script like that. You think this will be good for me? So when a person is doing that, then he would almost hesitate. He's gone to the doctor, he's got the prescription, he's got the medicine, now he's doubting whether he's checked out the medicine. Then he will now not use the medicine. He will not use the medicine. Why? Because he is doubting. Likewise, people who doubt the Dharma, the teachings of the Enlightened One. Of course, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have healthy doubt. Inquire some basics, but have a limit to it. Have a limit to it. But the invariable nature of the doubt, sometimes you can doubt factual to non-factual, non-factual to factual. So sometimes the doubt could be listed as one of the four invariable mental factors, but here it is listed as one of the 6 root afflictions. How much time the doubt waste oneself, whereas others who didn't doubt, they just went ahead and they reached the ridge already. But the person who's doubting on the road, they have never went anywhere. They're just going in circles where they started, because they're always good at amazingly doubting and anxiety, and they didn't get anywhere because that's all that they spend the time doing. So that's the doubt. And 6th one is the erroneous afflictions, erroneous views. So this means wrong view. 6th one is wrong view. Wrong view could be doctrinal wrong views, about nature of phenomena, and they have some wrong views, such as things were created by God, or there's no consequences whatever you do. People who believe in nihilism. Or eternalism, everything's created by God, and if you pray to God, it will save you. This kind of eternalistic view, they do not see any other way. So this is called erroneous views. Erroneous views always hold inappropriate analysis or rationalizing. They're irrational, and then they make themselves become holding the one certain opinionated view, which does not allow oneself to see anything alternative. So this actually has a few subdivisions. There are 6 such erroneous views. 6 erroneous views. First is the what we call viewing self as viewing transient collection as self. Thinking body is self is erroneous views. Feeling as mine and real is erroneous views. Most people wouldn't even hesitate talking, I felt this, and people say, yeah. They don't think there's anything error in viewing that way. But that erroneous view to think that we are body and we are our feelings and we have it and those things. Erroneous view in relation to transient collection. First is the aggregate, physical aggregate. People associate the body as me. And then the feeling is me, and perception is my perception. Volition, I did this. They really think I did it. They don't realize there's multitude of other causes and conditions that made it possible to do. They think self unitarily made it. So this I, me, mine, strong sense of I, me, mine, and have an unquestionable grasping, it's a truly existing, and that's the erroneous views to transient collection as self. transient collection erroneous transient collection of self. And then, as a result of that, you say, my country, my gender, my ethnicity, my father, my land, our property, all these things. So then, my schedule, my whatever. So as a result of that, all of this me, mine comes from this first erroneous views of transient collection as self. So the erroneous view of seeing transient collection as self is not regarded as erroneous views at all. It's considered to be common view. Common view. By the way, I'm George. I'm Peter. I'm such and such. As a Buddhist, I'm merely labeled George. You can say with a grin, I'm supposed to be the director. So you do the director's job very well, but you just still don't think that's you. You just have the just conventionally labeled one, but ideally, of course, not you. So it's very hazardous. This view. The right view is very hazardous to live in the samsara. It will hardly be able to make you think very much because you have to be correct view thinking. The correct view is I'm not body, I'm not my feelings. You just can't say anything as you. It's a taboo, I'm not anything. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I never do anything right. Keep saying that regularly. I'm always deluded. I always think I'm my name. I always think I'm my passport number. I always think like this. We don't hesitate thinking I am this. Transient collection, erroneous view of apprehending transient collection as self. Wow, that's really hard. Second one is the extreme view. Extreme view. This extreme view of eternalism and nihilism, So this is an extreme view, saying that something is created by God. That's eternalism, and saying that there is no karma and no rebirth. There's nothing, no dharma. There's no consequences. You don't believe in nothing. When you die, it's finished. That's it. You don't know why the life exists, but after death there's nothing. You don't have to worry. Nihilistic. So that's the probably it's to do with this. But to do with the first wrong view causes this. First wrong view causes the second wrong view. First wrong view is the grasping to transient collection of self, and then that because you're grasping this transient collection of self, you therefore wrongly view something as eternalistic or nihilistically. The third one is a wrong view of superiority complex. Superiority complexity is saying that what the view that you have is the superior most. We are Buddhist. We are Buddhist. Buddhists got the right view. Remember. Everybody else got wrong. Now, if we are that kind of Buddhist, we will suffer this third wrong view. Third wrong view. So one sees one's view as more superior and have this very haughty feeling of our view being superior most, and then therefore have this condescending way of looking at other philosophical views. Now this is very hazardous. These colors intellectual Buddhists have this, unfortunately, and to think I don't have the view is also another one. To think I don't know, I don't have this view is also another one, because thinking that I don't hold the view could be just like superior complex. The fourth one is the feeling of superiority in your conduct, saying your conduct is more superior, your conduct of whatever you do that others don't do, you think I'm so great because I'm not like them. Maybe one fast, maybe one doesn't eat much, maybe one abstains from this and that, many things one doesn't do, and one thinks one is superior. There's a lot of people have this wrong view. You wouldn't believe. It's practitioner's problem. This one, the practitioner's superiority complex, thinking their conduct is good. I'm not like you. I'm not like the others who do this and do this. You wouldn't believe how hazardous a view this is. Now the fifth one, this is subdivision within the wrong view. Fifth one is the perverted view, holding perverted view, saying that there is no law of cause and effect. There is no next life. There's no past life. So there is this kind of completely holding wrong view, and not realize that is afflicted wrong view. And one does not, one thinks that animals are created by God for us to enjoy, and therefore we can kill them, play them, do hunting with them, and these are our right because there's no harm to kill them because we're liberating them. Or it will please the God if you kill the dog and strew the blood on the statue, and animal sacrifice. So people have this extreme wrong views, like they kill, like some one country, some places, they sacrifice animals on a certain time of the year, and they think it's to please their God. Like animal sacrifice in some places in Indian subcontinent, you wouldn't believe how many they'll sacrifice, particularly goat or chooks, and they cut the throat right in front of the statue, and they strew the blood in the statues, and they think that's going to be a great merit or great virtues, and they don't see any harm to the poor creatures. They think it's God is appeased and pleased. As a result of that, you will have many success in whatever you do. This kind of belief is a wrong view, isn't it? Wrong view. So there's a lot of that in various things. So these are the 6 root afflictions. These 6 root afflictions, for instance, desire as attachment, is going to be mutually causing the anger or pride, or vice versa. So these 2 root afflictions are very contagious, very, very contagious. Very quickly they will spread, and you become completely jumbled up in these 6 root afflictions. So much so that one doesn't know what one is saying or doing, and one actually justifies to raise one's voice, asking other people not to raise voice, but he doesn't mind raising his. Asking other people to throw, but he throw more. So when the affliction is so highly charged, the person becomes completely blinded. His eyes are closed, his fist is tight, he's open his mouth, and he doesn't know what he's doing to him, to the other, to the future. And then all the actions that are consummated under the influence of the root afflictions are the true cause of suffering to themselves and to others and their future. So that's why we have to understand mind and mental factors, particularly the six root afflictions. Is the six root afflictions, by not recognizing root afflictiveness of the root of the afflicted mind, one cannot apprehend it, cannot pause it, cannot restrain it, and they cannot control it, and therefore uncontrolled negative destructive emotion become physicalized in a physicalized in aggressive action or whatever harmful other actions that the body is utilized. And he's also unashamedly used his voice, speech, and therefore the root affliction then afflicts the action. The action has a devastating negative effect. Like they think being able to shoot as a target by a missile, they think it's a great achievement. But they don't realize what that missile is doing is killing thousands of people who has done nothing wrong, and he thinks that's a success. Because so therefore his root affliction completely makes him too mad to do these things. It's totally madness they do. And they hardly miss the target. They say usually almost 90% they will hit on the target. So afflicted to do more harmful. To do good things, they miss the target all the time. So that's how the deluded is. The root affliction, because they're so erroneous view-wise, and their aggression is aggression. They don't know aggression. They don't know the erroneous views. They don't know it's arrogance. They don't know it's ignorance is ignorance. They don't know it's doubt is doubt. Because if they doubt it, saying, "Oh, we shouldn't use tit for tat, while it will harmful," they don't think that. They unhesitatingly go and launch and retaliate and say and do when their root affliction has seized them, arrested them. The person has completely been captured by the neck. There's no time that person will survive because he's been completely seized from the neck. Like animals, the predators, they go and grab by the neck, and then however big their prey is, they have no chance to escape because they have just rested. Likewise, this root affliction arrests us in the most pertinent way that it completely disable us from being able to. We lose our sanity, compassion, virtue, wholesomeness, tolerance, carefulness. All of these wholesome mental instincts and behaviors are poisoned, and then cause this destruction and death and hurt and pain and injury. And he doesn't see he's doing any of that. He thinks it's entirely their fault to make you to do this. People say that quite a lot of times. You made me to do this. They never say, my affliction is making me to do this. They hardly. If one apprehend one's afflictions about to do or will make me, one say, I'm sorry, I have apprehended my affliction. By the way, all bets are off. I'm not going to do it. Sorry, I'm glad I came to my senses. A Buddhist practitioner is trying to gain the mind, have such sanity, clarity to pause and pull the brake. And that is when you don't have the 6 root affliction impinging on you, but 11 wholesome emotions are recruited. When you recruit the wholesome emotion, because you apprehend the 6 root affliction so well that you wanted to put a ban on their proliferation. What is that? Discipline. Discipline to mind your mind. Yeah? Discipline to meditate so that you can mind your mind, and discipline to develop wisdom through the meditation so that you really become conversant to see your own root reflection and what they do, they make you to do without you knowing them. They are the inner thief that completely robs you from you within your own house. So awareness of the affliction is the amazing awareness. It's not ignorance. And that will then, will therefore, because when you see the kind of severity of the harm, the arrest one is made by the root affliction, then now how are we going to release the mind from being arrested by root affliction? By developing the 11 wholesome mental factors. So one has to be conversant and cognizant and literate in subjectively seeing one's own mind, which it is, whether it's afflicted one or non-afflicted one. Afflicted one has a very strong symptom of being seized and arrested and tight and a dense and tense feeling. The wholesomeness of the mind, which we'll discuss next week, is that amazing space and clarity, carefulness and gentleness. No tension, no intensity. This amazing sense of gentle kindness, carefulness there is. Because one has been beaten by the affliction so many times. One doesn't want to be harmed. It's like Japan. Japan has been defeated, harmed by the war so much. They thought they will win. Every time they thought they were winning, and then they lost. And then they fight again. And they're winning, and they're winning, and they're winning. And then they lost again. Every time they bomb somewhere, they thought they were winning. All of a sudden, atom bomb fall on them. And then that made them to realize, oh, we don't want to do this anymore. They signed a pact to be pacifists, not to have any nuclear weapon, as a country, It's just like that. Coming to their senses of not doing ill will, not doing any of the root afflictions, and instead do the 11 wholesome emotions. Means wholesome emotion, positive mental factors. And become cognizant of what is positive mental factors and recruit them, and being wary and cautious about the root afflictions. So we will look into the 22 secondary afflictions after we looked at the 11 wholesome factors, because then root afflictions are the real issues. 22 secondary afflictions are not really that much, because if you don't have the root, there wouldn't be branch. So the root has to be uprooted by the 11 wholesome mental factors. So it wouldn't be so boring next week, because we're not talking about negative mental factors. We're talking about positive mental factors, just in case you know how to recruit some through the prayer and the meditation, which I believe every one of you are doing. Thank you very much. That's why you have such a discipline to listen here and give your valuable time and company to everyone. So that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you, everybody. We do the dedication of merits. Om Bade Mere Me Havaga Dade Fa Men Zanga Honez Me Ale Berado Be Brondi Oceana Badade Zenade Herenda Mahayana Jizi Wadewa Meredaya Kro Mehobe Because the lovers Toda Mahayana Jizi Kareja Manjushin Yode Asama Tabadra Dila Follow it Awade Zamba Ashade Dege Ode Mere Salam Bodhi Jita Teba Veda Naya Danza me de freele da de Take care. See you next week.